Hi, and welcome to iReddit, where I have different articles from around the internet and different threads that I read from Reddit, while footage of video games plays in the background. Today I'll be reading stuff from I Don't Work Here, Lady, and the footage playing in the background is from Wasteland 2, the director's cut. It's a really fun game, and it plays a lot like the first Fallout games did. First up today is my poor fashion sense may have been confusing. It's been over a decade, but I still get a little bit of a laugh out of this one. I used to work in a retail chain on the east coast of Canada, some sort of drug mart aimed towards shoppers. A buddy and I were both interviewed for management roles at the same time. He was picked to be trained and promoted first. Lucky me. Gave me more time to think it over and realize I had to get out of there. So I joined the Air Force. It was a great way for me to get some training and get a better paycheck at the same time. The downside? That I was posted to Manitoba. Fast forward another year, and my buddy is getting married. Very happy for him, and I get invited. I have to fly halfway across the country to get there, but it's worth it. My problem is that I don't have anything to wear. I was never the type to even think about wearing a uniform to a wedding, not even my own. And I didn't have a lot of suit options. I was better paid, but I was still a private. In comes my bad choice. The only suit I owned was an old hand-me-down three-piece pinstripe. I attend the wedding, feeling awkward that I didn't know anyone outside the wedding party at the ceremony, and drive over to the hotel where the reception is being held. While everyone is milling around outside the ballroom, the drinks have already started flowing. A couple of people are not paying attention to where they are going, and they knock over the stand that was holding the framed seating chart. I've always been the type to try to help out where I can, so I see what I can do about getting it set back up. While I'm trying to do so, the mother of the groom comes around. Her. Is it broken? Me. Yep, cracked in half. Might be able to get to hold it together, as long as no one bumps into it again. Her, looking a little irritated. Don't you have another frame? Me, a little confused. No? Why would I have another frame? Her. Don't you have some other stored somewhere? This can't be the only one in the whole hotel. I'm figuring it out now. Me. I don't think you recognize me. I'm Aaron. We met when I helped your son move. I don't work for the hotel. I'm one of the further traveling guests at this wedding. Her. So you don't have another frame. We need another frame. And she proceeds to walk away. Next up we have, no ma'am, I don't work for the TSA. It's too early. Stop talking. Hey all. This is a short story, but it's the first time I've had something that happened to me that fits this sub. So here we go. For context, I was flying back home after visiting my family for Christmas. In order to get back during the day before the sun went down, I had to leave Portland super early in the morning. This led to my dad dropping me off at the airport around 3 a.m. Everything went fine until I got through security. I ended up getting pat down for some reason. I don't know what the sensors picked up, but I didn't have anything. But afterwards, I went over to wait for my stuff. Now again, it's like 4 a.m. by this point, and I'm dressed for a full day of travel. Sweatpants, oversized red sweatshirt, socks, since my shoes were still in the machine, and a strong RBF. I'm not really a people person either, especially in the morning. So I was hoping that I wouldn't have to interact with anyone other than the TSA agents or airline employees. Unfortunately, I was wrong. After a couple of minutes, my items, the shoes, backpack, and assorted electronics, started coming down the conveyor belt. I move slower than most people, so I tried to pull my things down as far as I could to give myself some more time. As I did, however, I noticed a woman standing next to me. I turned back to my things, deciding to just throw everything in my backpack, grab my shoes, and fix everything while sitting on a bench nearby. Before I could, though, the woman cleared her throat. Do you work here? Me with visible confusion. No. Her. Oh, I could have sworn you did. I need to talk to someone. I wish I could have said something more clever, but it was way too early for me to have a coherent conversation, much less come up with a really sarcastic response. By this point, I was about done grabbing my things and was getting ready to leave. All of a sudden, a TSA agent walked by carrying the woman's suitcase. She immediately spun on him. You work here! Why can't I have my suitcase? TSA. Well, ma'am, we need to get rid of the oversized items. Her. But I need all of those. You can't just throw them out. By this point, I was walking away, so I don't know what happened after that. I'm just still surprised that she could look at someone who very clearly doesn't work for the TSA and assume that they did, though I don't know why I'm surprised at people's stupidity, given I worked retail for 4.5 years. Last up we have, no, I will not run your samples. Hey, I just found this sub and got a story that has nothing to do with retail or food service. I worked as a technician doing service calls, mostly calibration and third-party certification for some specialized and very expensive pieces of scientific equipment. So I go on a call to this rather large facility, just a routine yearly calibrate and recertify. It takes about 2 hours of actual work. There's a big open lab space with lots of people, but the instrument room is down the hall and pretty cramped, because it has a few different things in there. As I am going through the start of the procedure, a young woman comes in to use a different instrument. We exchange pleasantries. She is having some trouble with the startup, so she asks if I can help. Very friendly. Tell her, I am just here for this spectrometer. Not really familiar with the equipment you are working on, but can take a look. Hard to say no to a pretty girl. Ended up spending about half an hour together. But we got it figured out, and I watched her run the first sample. Then I went back to my spectrometer, and she ran a few more samples herself. So this is the part where it gets weird, because she gets up, tells me she is going to grab a coffee, and can I be a dear, and when the sample is done, put it in and start the next one. So pretty girl or not, I got my own job. Again, I tell her, I am just here for this particular spectrometer, and I am not allowed to touch your samples. Should also mention that I was wearing a company polo with the logo of my employer, but more importantly, a big red lab visitor badge. Her response, oh, Dr. So-and-so won't mind. Thanks a bunch, and leaves. Not my circus, not my monkeys. An hour or so passes. I'm about halfway done when the girl and a middle-aged guy come in. Her first words were, Dr. So-and-so, this is okay spray. Why did you not run any samples? I repeat my mantra for what is probably the 5th time today. I am just here for the spectrometer. Now this guy is a lot quicker than the girl. He asks me for my work order, which I show him, and he barely glances at it, thanks me, and apologizes for the confusion. And that is when my annoyance with the young woman who tried to offload her work to yours truly got the better of me. Dr. So-and-so, I could not help but notice that the samples also have chain of custody paperwork, and they were left unattended and unsecured. Is that a problem? The woman's face goes from mildly embarrassed red to pale. The guy does not blink, tells me that he appreciates my concern, he will take care of it, picks up the samples, and leaves, taking the girl with him. He came back half an hour later as I was finishing up and started running the samples himself. I left shortly thereafter. The end. To answer a few likely questions, apparently she thought I was an intern. Have no idea what happened with this woman afterwards. Was she disciplined? Fired? Was the accident completely ignored? I just don't know. Never actually said the words, I don't work here. Made it pretty clear that I don't, though. The samples in question have nothing to do with forensics or anything like that. They were environmental samples being tested for certain pollutants. The chain of custody was likely there for regulatory compliance, though I suppose there is possibility that this was part of some lawsuit. Again, I just don't know. Well, if you've listened to me this far, thank you. I really appreciate it. Please leave a like and subscribe, and I should have another video up pretty soon. And good luck until next time.